And Jewish elders come and earnestly ask Jesus to come and heal a servant of a centurion. And Jesus walks to the centurion's residence. And then the centurion sends his friends to stop Jesus and asks to heal him, his servant, centurion's servant, simply by saying. And Jesus is surprised. He heals by saying so. And he praises the centurion and reproaches the Jews. And this is the summary of what happened, of what we read this morning. Then, our question is, why is faith so special, even to the point of Jesus' amazement, right? Did Jesus praise him because he was earnest? He was really earnest, right? But just because of his earnestness? Probably not. Through our life, everybody experiences a moment that we want something, right? When we wanted a job, who cannot be not earnest, right? When we were facing the college entrance exam, of course, we are really earnest, you know. Some churches have 100-day prayer sessions to help our kid going to college, right? I spoke about my first child, those of you who have children will totally agree with me that when that child was sick, oh my, that is something unbearable for a parent. Actually, when my first baby was sick, I was determined to even give my life, literally. Yeah, if I can bring forth some kind of curing on my dear child, then I'm ready to die. Of course, that's not how the system works. But in terms of my determination, I was ready, right? So, being earnest is something, but, you know, who's not? So, that was not a real question. Then, what about the centurion? The first thing immediately that comes to us is the love unlimited. Well, how he was dealing with his servants, right? But at this time, we don't have that idea of what a servant is, right? Because the servant that we see, maybe civil servant, the government officials, oh, they are good. You know that probably many Koreans here may know that government civil service is number one most desired job in Korea. Recent exam. Only 1 out of 400 or 500 people is chosen. Wow, that's an amazingly envied job. But back in Roman times, the servants, who are they? They were properties. They were things. They were just things. And they were sold naked in the slave market. So they were totally naked so that they can examine every part. So they were not treated as humans. They were a thing. And even St. Augustine was deplored about putting a servant in jail for many years for simply annoying the master. He talked back to me, put him in jail for 3 years. Something like that. When they were sick, they were not treated. That was the rule. Why is that? Because the new servant cost less. No? They were thin, replaceable. Well, actually, last week, I got new pair of shoes. My old pair was 17 years old. I changed my the sole, or maybe, I don't know, maybe 10 times or more than 10 times. And the shoemaker was surprised to see my shoes, and my wife was ashamed that I was wearing that old shoes. So finally, she won. So we decided to buy new pairs. So after the service, look at my shoes and say something nice to me. At that time, the servants were like that, replaceable. Well, old or sick, just thrown away into the street, and they died on the street, going through all the pain. And people thought that is a natural thing. And even Christian masters, of course, at the time, slavery was an institution, and Christian masters were not any better. They just thought and acted in the same way. What does that mean? That was the worldview of the times. It is just like, we cannot think that this microphone is a human. We cannot think that the tree outside is a human, right? We cannot treat that as a human. Exactly the same way the people 2,000 years ago, they were treating servants as non-human, and that was their worldview. It was not because they were particularly bad, but it was the way they thought. But what about this centurion? The centurion's servant had paralysis, and here the phrase, a servant about to die, it has some sense of immediacy. It has some sense of urgency there. So the centurion was feeling that, oh, my servant is going to die. Right? And the centurion also says, my servant is in terrible suffering, not just big suffering, not in suffering, but in terrible suffering. He was feeling the same pain his servant was feeling, right? And his master valued highly. What is it? It's a property, it's a thing. It's not a human, but he was valuing this servant highly. He was treating this servant as a human. And centurion's servant in verse 2 uses the term doulos. Doulos is a servant or slave. And as we know, in Arab world, the most common name is Abdul. Abdul is a servant. And it has the same root, the doulos. But interestingly, this is the description of the Bible, centurion's slave. But when the centurion was describing the servant, he is using different term. My servant, here the term is pais, and pais in Greek means son. Isn't that amazing? When I learned that, I was so touched. I was overwhelmed. He was treating his thing like, commodity like, non-human like servant as his son. And what about Jews? The Jews, they were saying that he loves our nation. It's not just a matter of, he treats us nicely. He loves our nation. He built a synagogue. What is a synagogue? In modern terms, it's a church. And this could be a big risk in his military career because he is under the authority of a Roman emperor. And Roman emperor was their god. Yeah. And probably he closely worked with the Jewish leaders because he could ask Jewish leaders to send his message to Jesus. And he asked them to convey his requests. And he implored. But the term implored means that he was so earnest. And he was describing his servant condition. But he's in great pain. He's in bed and he's about to die. So it's not something like, Jewish elders, come here. Yeah, I heard about Jesus, go and ask him to come in and heal my servant. He was not giving orders, but he was treating the Jewish leaders in a very humane way, and then he was imploring, feeling all the pain of his servant. And he did this perhaps from the context, avoiding physical contact, because physical contact with a Gentile would make them unclean. And since he was such a considerate man, probably he was avoiding direct contact with the Jewish people. So in sum, he was a man of love. What a man of love. Even in this enlightened society now, probably man with a love of this caliber may be very hard to find, I should say. And also, he showed great respect, and it was going beyond. And he respected people under his colonial control. And those people were just nothing. You could kill and you could do whatever you want with them, but he respected them. He requested to Jesus not to come to him in person. Why is that? Because he knew about the Jewish custom, and probably the Jews or the Jewish people were against Jesus, and if Jesus makes direct contact with the Roman centurion, then there could be some seed of trouble later. So this centurion was saying, do not come in person, right? And not to come under his roof. Not just physical contact, but coming under his roof would be a problem later. So here, the respect, I'm by job, I'm a linguist, so I like etymology. And respect, which is very clear here, respect is, etymologically, that has re and spect, and re and spect that is again and look. So respecting is looking at the person often and again, that is respect. If we do not look at the person, that is ignoring, right? And he acknowledged Jesus' authority. And he acknowledged that he is under God, which is somewhat strange for a Roman soldier. Of course, he was under the Roman emperor, but he knew that he was under God. He was very modest, and he was saying, I am not worthy. A centurion, Roman officer, who is the commanding officer of a very important town, who could do almost anything, he's saying, I'm not worthy. What modesty. The virtue that lacks most in the powerful is modesty. Yeah, I had the opportunity, fortunately or unfortunately, to come across many so-called important people in the society. But unfortunately, not all, but many of them lack modesty, I should say. And modesty is also etymologically comes from Latin modestus, and that also comes from Latin modus, which is a manner, mode, or measuring self and conduct. So, what is modesty? Modesty means measuring you and I'm 5'6". I don't know. Yeah, measuring myself and recognizing who I am. Right? That is exactly modesty. Right? And third point is a spiritual sensitivity and recognition of authority. He heard of Jesus, and this is a simple word, heard. What a wonderful word. He heard something very important. He heard about the Messiah. So hearing is very important. If we hear something repeatedly, we become like that. That's why we need the good friends talking some good things, right? If we always listen to complaints, and then all of a sudden I become a complaining person too. right? And he heard of Jesus. And he realized that Jesus is more than simple physical healer. That's why he recognized his authority. He understood the power of the words. That's why he said, just say, do not come in person. This is in good contrast with what is shown in the previous chapter, Luke 6. People thought Jesus